Many Catholics today love the beauty of Latin in the liturgy. Some assume that if a parish wants a Latin Mass, it must get special permission from the Vatican. But that is not entirely true. In fact, under current church rules, any parish can celebrate the Mass in Latin. There is one important detail. The Mass must be the Latin version of the Novus Ordo, the form of the Mass introduced after the Second Vatican Council. No special permission is needed for that. Latin editions of the Novus Ordo are widely available. Priests can use approved Roman missals written in Latin. Congregations can also follow along using Latin English booklets that are sold online and in Catholic bookstores. Many people associate Latin only with the traditional Latin Mass, often called the TLM. But Latin can also be used in the Novus Ordo. The language and the form of the Mass are not exactly the same thing. Today, the Novus Ordo is usually celebrated in local languages around the world. In the United States, that is mostly English. In parts of Canada, it is often French. In Spanish-speaking regions, it may be celebrated in Spanish. But the same Mass can also be celebrated entirely in Latin. The Novus Ordo was approved by Pope Paul VI after the Second Vatican Council, which met between 1962 and 1965. The council called for revisions to the Mass so that its structure could be more clearly understood and so that the faithful could participate more actively. The new form of the Mass was introduced worldwide in 1969. Not everyone welcomed the changes. Many Catholics felt attached to the older form of the Mass that had been celebrated for centuries. Over time, some priests and faithful began asking for greater access to the traditional Latin Mass. This older form differs from the Novus Ordo in several ways. One of the most noticeable differences is the direction the priest faces. In the traditional Latin Mass, the priest and congregation generally face the same direction toward the altar. This is often called ad orientem, meaning toward the east. In the Novus Ordo, the priest usually faces the congregation. The prayers are also different. The older Mass contains many ancient prayers that are not found in the newer form. Participation looks different as well. In the traditional Latin Mass, altar servers make most of the responses while the congregation remains largely silent. In the Novus Ordo, the congregation actively responds throughout the celebration. There are also differences in posture. The traditional Latin Mass includes more kneeling. The Novus Ordo generally includes more standing and spoken participation. Another difference involves Holy Communion. In the traditional Latin Mass, communicants typically kneel and receive communion on the tongue. In many Novus Ordo parishes, communion may be received either on the tongue or in the hand, depending on local norms. The sign of peace is another distinction. It is part of the Novus Ordo, but is not included in the traditional Latin Mass. Supporters of both forms often have strong opinions about these differences. Some Catholics believe the traditional Latin Mass expresses a stronger sense of mystery and reverence. Others believe the Novus Ordo allows the faithful to participate more fully and understand the liturgy more clearly. The debate continues today. Current Vatican regulations allow priests to celebrate the Novus Ordo in Latin without special approval. However, priests who wish to celebrate the traditional Latin Mass generally need authorization from their diocesan bishop. Whether that permission is granted depends on local circumstances. This issue has become one of the most discussed topics in Catholic life over the past several years. The Vatican maintains that the Novus Ordo remains the ordinary form of the Roman Rite and best serves the needs of the universal church. At the same time, many Catholics, including a growing number of young people, continue to be drawn to the beauty and traditions of the older liturgy. Whatever side of the discussion someone may favor, one fact is often overlooked. Latin has never disappeared from the Catholic Church. And for parishes that wish to hear the ancient language of the Church once again, the Latin Novus Ordo remains a fully permitted option today.